Okay, we have a couple minutes, but I'll do a preliminary roll call, and then I'll jump back. Jadhav? Jose? Makarla? Ali?
Here.
Babu? Barrios?
Here.
Bruno? Barek?
Here.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, okay. Zerwinski?
Here.
Darden?
Here.
Dietz? Evans? Friend? Fuller? Gibbons?
Here.
Gregory? Hedelbrun? Hoover? Kloss?
Here.
Oh, online, okay. Fool? Mikic?
I'm here.
Nekic?
Here.
Where? Oh, Gino?
Yeah.
Is Nekic? I said, gotcha. I gotta widen my first column. It only has so many characters in it. It said Nekic, comma, GE. So I'm like, okay. Need to make it a little bit wider. Neatard is online. Reitenbach?
Here.
No Reitenbach?
I'm online. I'm here.
I don't know if you're set.
Oh, there. Okay. Yeah, you're, I think.
They're talking.
The sound's all the way up here now, so I don't know. But okay, my kick's there, right kick's there. My kick's there. Ruiz? Song? I saw you, okay. Valerio?
Here.
Oh, okay, online. Vasileidos?
I'm here.
Oh, okay, thank you. White?
Here.
Where's White? Oh, gotcha, okay. Why is it not showing all these people? Well, you should like, maybe I get the view, change the view on it. There we are, that's much better. Okay, now I see everyone. I was only seeing 4 people. And Sarah White's here, okay. So then we go back up to Mafool. Gotcha, is that pronounce that right? Magul? Magul? Okay. Evans. Okay. I started early, just to save time, so. So the ones I'm not showing here are Jadhav, Jose, and Makarla. I will have a talk because those 3 have never attended. So I'll see if we plan on dropping them from the MBA program or not. I'm okay with it. So now, as I always start, I want to know if there's any questions from last time. Going once, going twice, okay, sold. We now are going to be finishing up chapter 1. I did have a question I have tried to remind, so I'm going to jump over. I'll do a share screen. And just trying to remind when you, I'm not moving that, fine. When you go to do the homework here, you get your book and all that do not try and go to the publisher site. Simply get into Blackboard, go to our course. You see over here, course content to the left. You click on course content, go to test one materials, click on that. Then any of these black ones, chapter 1, 2, or 3, you can hit any of them. It doesn't really matter which, but logically chapter 1. Once you do that, it will bring you to, this screen will not show up. It'll bring you into the publisher site at the proper link to be in this course for the homework. And that's where you then would enter in the code they give you and register. Anything else may not take you to the right spot. That's where people said, you can give the link. I give it, but it's, especially with this one, our course is not even the proper link. It's a parent file. Okay? So I'm like, yeah, I'll send you that, but I'll do it this way. You know, you follow my point. So that was it. And then with it, we have 9 people that have registered so far in this. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, wait, actually on this, I think I printed. No, I didn't do the column. I normally do that column. (13, 14, 15, 16, 17). So we have 30 people, and we almost have a third of them that have started. Or at least, I shouldn't say started. We have 9 out of 30 that have actually done what I just said. That's why I'm going over it again. You want to do that because once the exam hits, it'll be too late to study for the exam or do the homework and get the points. And what I'm saying in this regard, the homework, there is a direct and immediate correlation to your exam grade. Your exam grade's worth a lot more points. But if you can't do the homework, you're not going to be able to do the exam. If you're good at the homework, you're normally good at the exam. In 215, which I've taught ever since I've been here, this is the first time I'm doing 214, but it's the last exam that should be in this course, if it was Ohio or Michigan, is actually in 215. That's when you're doing the financial statement. That's actually the last exam. If this course was taught in Ohio or Michigan, it'd be in this course. So it'd be a lot more condensed. I like it better this way, where you can go slower. You imagine the pace of trying to cover another 4 chapters in the course? That's like 2 weeks plus an exam. So 2.5 weeks thrown into what you already have. So you see the pace is so much faster than those other 2 states that I taught. So with this, it makes it nice. But what that means is you need to go in and do this sooner rather than later, and then start going through it. We already did go through, but what I'm going to do is I'm now going to go and hit some of this via the homework. We already did this one. We did this one. This is kind of effectively more of the same if you think about it. What this one says here is just like the last problem we did. And I figure we have 6. Why not go through and show you this is what you're doing for points and learning? Fair enough. And I'll pull up some other stuff. But the accounting equation, that was day 1 we went through the accounting equation. Simple algebra, assets, liability, equity, assets, liability, equity, assets, liability, equity. There's none at all in this. Obviously, this plus this gives you that. So you could do this in any order. We were going across, so I'll go across first. 295,000. These numbers will change every time you reopen it. But once you open it, as long as you save and not submit, you can keep working. You know, it's like, I'm kind of like redundant, beating a dead horse over and over and over. So hopefully you remember that, because that's the part that when you get more complex and bigger, people start almost at the point of tears because they got to start over. I was in problem 5 and I pressed submit and there were 7 problems I didn't get any. Yeah, I can't do anything about it. So what you're doing is you sit there and go, you end up getting, let's make sure the volume's off. It is. Calculator, since I'm in front of the class, 295,000 minus 221,250. Helps if I didn't do a typo. So let's go with 295. Come on. Multiple typos, 295,123 minus, I should just have done it in my head, 221,250 equals 73,750. You can also see 295 and 80. That would give you 375,000. So what would the answer to this one right here be? Anyone? Yes, sir.
25,000.
25, yes, because 25,000 plus 55,000 gives you 80, or 80 minus 55 gives you 25,000. I don't know if you catch what's going on. I used to teach a bunch of math, basic to advanced stats, calculus, all this. And I don't know if you catch it, but I actually don't do math the way you're supposed to. I don't do right to left, I do left to right. It's just faster. That's what I was trying to like, oh wait, no, okay, they're probably catching that I'm not actually, but anyway. And then you check your work. Oh, and I did this one wrong. 2, 7, 6. Okay, I typed a 1. Oh, come on. Oh, return to question. That's the nice part about this. You can see, wait, 2, 7, 6. Oh, 2, not 7, 2, 4. I flipped the 2 and 5 and then didn't even pay attention. I just looked at the very first thing I got wrong. Okay. 2, 4, 6, 250. Okay, return to work. Oh, that's definitely not it in the billions. 2, 4, 6, 250. Oh, come on. It's getting to be an extremely huge number. Okay, so that's got 3. Okay, FLL. Is it because this is blocking it, or why am I not getting the next round? Four, okay. Hopefully everyone can still see me. I minimized. So they're still up. And then this one, you can read the whole question, but I don't even need to. It's the same thing again. So asset liability, 254 minus 217. So really what's 54 minus 17? 40, 37. It's lacking it. Yes, sir.
The code for registering for the homework, is it in the syllabus? Is it in the syllabus, the code for registering for the homework?
The code comes with your book. So whether you bought the hardbound at the bookstore and got the Connect code, or if you buy it online and got the Connect code, or if you bought or borrowed a book from somewhere, you then would go online, you still have to pay the fee for the Connect code. They normally charge like $9,500 some bucks for the code. So you want to check to see which way you buy or get something. So if you were to go click into it and don't have things, that's a code, there's normally a spot where you can either buy it or you can ask for a 2-week trial or something like that, but they don't let you continue the trial and then you're shut off. So that's pretty much for those people who need financial aid, or whether it's 2 weeks or a month, whatever, and they try and give you some time. So if you see, do you catch a pattern of this whole thing? It's all the same thing. So I'm going to skip that one. So now into 6, it says, Zen begins a new consulting firm. On January 5, the accounting equation showed the following balances for each of the company's first 5 transactions. Analyze the accounting equation of each and match the given transaction to most likely description. So if you look at line 1, there's 46,000 cash and Zen Capital 46,000. So you went up 46,000 in cash. So what's, ignoring everything else, what does it mean if cash goes up 46,000? Just think it as common sense. What's another way of saying that? You got 46,000, okay? Right, so now you got it. So how did you get it? Zen Capital. A capital account means an owner's account. It means an owner gave money. So now let's see something that sounds similar to that. Company billed customers, no. Provided services, equipment, purchased supplies received from a bank loan, sold equipment, sold, invested. Owner invested in the business? A 46 or 7? It was 46, right? Next line. What happened to cash? Say it again. Huh? Song? You got 38,000 in cash, so you received cash. You also received what? 15,000 in supplies. What's that one? The 7,000, where it says payable. What does that mean? Payable went up 7,000. What's a payable? I'm sorry, go ahead. Money that you owe them. So you owe someone $7,000. So you think of it this way, you do write an IOU to someone. Or let's put it another way. Do you have a roommate? You don't. Okay. Live at home? Okay. Probably even better. But normally it's not a payable. But you have her ask for your parents, you need some money for food, you're gonna eat meds or whatever, and they food. Then they're probably gonna ask you to pay them back. Do you have siblings?
Yeah.
Perfect one. You have a date. You're going out tonight. I'm making this up. Okay, just go with it. Well, if you do like it, but anyway, but you follow me, you go with it. You want to take her out to dinner. You're a little shy. You ask your sibling, hey, you got like 20 bucks I can borrow, I'll pay you on Friday. I got a date tonight. Most guys will cover for each other, and occasionally a sister will. I haven't had a sister do that because she's 10 years younger. We always had to cover, you know. And it was always her to pay for some girlfriends. And she'd always never pay me back, which is, you know, she's 10 years younger. She's like, come on, you're an attorney. And the other brother was an engineer. It was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Here's the, go have fun. So you see my point, that'd be a payable. Make sense? So that's what this is. And then what's the capital account again? But who are these capital people? That's the company or the owners. You can call them shareholders, owners. Fair enough? Because if it's a sole proprietorship, you're an owner. You're an LLC, you're deemed an owner. You're a corporation, you're a shareholder. But it's all capital accounts. That's the term for the accounts, capital. Okay? So we're trying to find something along that line. You know you have a 7,000 payable. That's not what I tried to do. Okay, they sold 15 and some, no, you received supplies. Oh, but that's not the, these are change transactions. Okay, I thought it was I was reading it as every individual transaction. So we had 46, okay. I was reading this as totally distinct transactions, ignore everything above. That's not what they said apparently, see? Do me a favor also on the exam, read. Not as I say, not as I do, as I say though, okay? You found my point in the meeting. I just messed up. I apparently didn't read it close enough. I don't even know if I read it at all. I did start reading it, but I think I stopped. So you read the whole thing. Well, it was 46, it's now 38. That means it went down 8,000 in cash. You got 15 in supplies you received. So what it is, that'd be like saying you went to Office Max, right? You gave them 8,000 in cash for supplies and you owe them 7. So you put 7 on your account, you paid 8,000 and you received some supplies. That's what we're trying to match up. And the capital account, the owner's account, did not change at all. They build the transactions versus separate. Most of the time, it's always a separate. So I just went with separate, and yeah, you got to watch. Okay, so with this one, sold supplies, no, you bought. Purchase supplies, paying 8 and putting 7 on credit. Yep, make sense? The next line, you went from 38 to 24. So what happened for cash?
You lost 14,000.
Yeah, so you spent 14 grand, or someone stole it. We'll go spent. Supplies didn't change, but you got furniture. So you 14,000 in furniture and nothing else changed. So what did you do with the cash? Anyone else?
You bought furniture.
With cash. Yeah, so that's what you're looking for. Come on. Sold equipment, no. Hopefully it's not as annoying with you guys as it is with me. Okay, the closest they have is purchased equipment with cash. They're saying furniture. I'll leave it at that unless I miss something, okay? Because you can have, some people have furniture and equipment as one line, but you think they would, oh, it's probably because they didn't want to mess up the space or put 2, okay. Just so you know, that's another thing. Every company's chart of accounts can be different. You could have, everyone always has the word cash. That's always the first account because it's most liquid. There's nothing prohibiting you from having your first account instead of saying cash, saying money. But wow, you follow my point? There's certain standard things, but beyond that, you're not required to have all these accounts. Just like you think about an account payable where you owe someone money. I'm sure you'd probably occasionally find that on Google's account, but normally they show billions of dollars in cash. They just literally can't spend it all. A buddy of mine's got over 90% seniority at Google. I went there and visited him once. It's in Mountain View. You would call it Silicon Valley, but it's actually next door. It's Mountain View. San Jose. The funny thing is while you're there, it's like they have all this stuff with food and all, but the funniest story about Google was this. They always take care of their employees. They have chefs and all that. There's only a handful of hours a day that there isn't someone there that can even cook for you, okay? And they'll get your laundry out of your car in the parking lot, take it, wash it, do it all, and put it back. You're charged and put it in your car while you're at work. You know, you just bring it and you say, you got this in the back, they do it. But the neat part about it is they also like to do things for their employees. And they have a thing where you can do lap pools. Not a huge pool. It's like so wide by maybe 8 feet long, and it has a current. And it's like, I can't remember, like so deep. Well, based upon California law, any pool deeper than, well, 3 inches, they're 3 inches past the number, you have to have lifeguards. So they truly have 2 lifeguards to watch people doing laps in a pool that if they go on their knees, they can't drown. They figured it's cheaper than to rip up all of these lap pools to just pay 2 people. So they pay 2 people, and you know why they pay 2, not 1? Eventually, one of the people is gonna have to, it's called pee or poop, defecate, you know, urination defecation center, they have to have relief for the other person. So they have 2 lifeguards just so that people don't drown in a pool that you could drown in, but that's going to take some drugs or something, or a heart attack. You know what I mean? So it is kind of funny. But anyway, back, a little tangent. I like throwing little tidbits out there. I know. And I will say one last thing. When I went to go visit them in San Jose, to go to Google, I'm going from San Jose into Mountain View. I get on one of the trolley cars. This guy gets on, I'm looking at my phone, which is almost out of battery juice, trying to say, hey, come get me. I'm going to get this stop. This one guy and his friend are just yelling. Predominantly the one guy's just yelling at his friend like crazy, screaming at him, telling him to shut up. I'm picking the seat. And I just know, I look kind of up just briefly, all black outfit, and he was pretty much around my age, maybe a few years younger, carrying a huge cello. I'm like, I just looked down, I finished the thing. Then I hear, I told you I was picking the seat, and I don't want to hear any more about it. And then I finally, casually look back. The guy is screaming at his friend. You know who his friend is? His reflection in the mirror, in the glass. There was no one with him. At least he was winning the argument. Those things like that you don't forget. And you know what? My response to him is this, and he's not sharing his drug. No, not that I would take it. I'm kidding. That's sarcasm. It's just like, I was joking about let me into your reality if you're not in mine. That's because I just want to. But that one I didn't care if I related to. I was just okay. We'll just ignore this. So number 4, cash stayed the same. I think all of you have. What's a receivable?
Something they give you.
Something someone's to give you. Yeah. A payable, that's something you owe someone else. This is someone owes you. So your receivable went up by 12,000. So someone owes you money. This didn't change, that didn't change, this didn't change, this didn't change. And revenues went up. What would be a revenue account you can think of? Yes, Mr. Song. Okay. Oh, I already have it up. I didn't mean to click on that. See, the time I don't want it up, it's up. When I do want it up, it won't come up. And it keeps. Okay, yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah. So a revenue, but give me an example of a name of a revenue account. We haven't gone through them. Just think of what you'd think would be a revenue account. Let's go to you. What did you buy today? Did you spend any money at all? That's an answer, and it's a correct one. And you, did you buy anything today? Huh? No. Man, this economy's faltering already. What's going on with Biden anyway? No, I'm just kidding. And you? Did you buy it? No one bought a single thing today. You bought something. Yes, we have someone. What did you buy? A coffee. And where did you get the coffee?
The second floor.
On the same, in a machine?
No, the cafe.
From one of the coffee slaves?
Yeah.
I'm being sarcastic. I don't know what the thing is. Okay. I probably walked past. Is that one of those room things in there that look pretty cool with all the seats?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I went through there once before. It's always been too packed to go in, and the other time it was totally empty. So you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know. Okay. Looks like a cool hangout. So if you were the person that poured the coffee and you gave that person money, what would you call that? Them giving you the money, what do you call it? What did you do with the coffee? You made it, and then you poured it and handed it to the person, they gave you money. What do you call it when you gave that person money, coffee for money? Technically, you could say it's a service, or you could say it's a product. But what do most people call it? There's marketing and the people trying to create a transaction. What do you call the transaction, anyone? Huh? I can't hear you. Supplies? No, you would decrease your supplies in that regard. Okay, obviously people aren't jumping. I thought it'd come out faster. Okay, so what is it? Yes, sir.
Sales.
Bingo, you're making sales. Yeah, so you have sales revenue, But you also made another one, which technically you could argue that it's a service revenue. You're doing more of a service. But did they really want you to serve them the coffee, or did they want to drink the coffee? Was it more like a mechanic? If you actually had them fix your car, yeah, it needs a part, but you want them to put the part in. So you could almost argue it's more service than more labor than parts. So the nice part was you got the other one that's not as common people think about, which is service revenue, and you had sales revenue, the two most common. So what we're saying here is what went down. You got a receivable in revenue. It doesn't say what revenue you did, whether it's a service or whatnot, but it could be technically either, and it's a receivable. And it says billed for service provided. If it was for cash, but it wasn't, it was a receivable. And then the last one, cash went up $7,000 and revenue went up $7,000. So now someone paid you in cash for either a sales or a service. Now, of course, even with these, if you took a little bit time further or even at the same time, you might be recording a decrease in inventory or supplies. You might, like with a service, normally it's the labor you're going to owe, but you're also going to have some supplies used. Like let's say you're cleaning, right? There's going to be cleaning supplies. But they're keeping it simple without blending all that stuff together. The time I want it up, it won't stay. Okay. So this one was $7,000 cash service. Check my work. Oh, that was a 14. I said I didn't see one directly on it. So let's see. Let's try and find it again, which is this one.
Sold equipment, I think that you meant to put purchased equipment.
Oh, okay. And this one was line 3. So I just actually, yeah, it went up. So you're not selling it. Yeah, you're receiving it. Yeah. It's because it wasn't the exact thing I was looking for. I was looking for it to say office furniture, and they used the word equipment.
That's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm saying-
No, it didn't. Oh, I clicked the same one. It didn't change it?
No, it's because when you scroll down,
Oh, as I moved, it went down again.
yeah,
Well, maybe I did that the first time too. Who knows? Yeah, so, okay. Well, you know where I'm going to leave it wrong because I'm not submitting anyways. You know what I meant to click. Fortunately, on the test, there's no drop downs. The only problem is on the test, there's no drop down. So if you're going to explain it, you have to handwrite what you think it is. Yes, sir. If
We have bonus questions for every moment, just in case that happens. So let's say we know the answer, but we just click the wrong thing. That might happen. It happened to you 3 times in class. I think it's reasonable to get a bonus.
Oh, don't worry, I can flunk just a second. No, really, I mean, if there's an issue like that, try, what you do is mention, but the thing is, normally that's extremely gonna be rare, and also because you get to check your work, it's not a submit thing, if you follow my point.
Yeah.
If there's an online test, there sometimes can be an issue, and I look through all that, but when it's doing the drop down with homework, it's check your work, so yeah, you just gotta fight it to make it work. Like you see how much I fight it just to try and have it on, and when I don't want it on, it's on. I don't know, it's kind of like being married with kids. Oh wait, that's me. Okay, never. I'll try to have this one, and I don't know if your other classes today had internet issues. I had major where I couldn't use anything. And I put this one on, which it wasn't the right one, that flash drive that clicks on there. But it's not my most powerful with everything else. This one has it because this is like a terabyte. Or is it 500 gig? I don't know, one of the two, 500 gig or a terabyte. So it has everything on that. Of course, that one I left on my desk upstairs. I grabbed the wrong one and just clicked. So I brought it just in case things happen again where I could go, okay, forget the computer and let's do this. So number 7, they report net income of 37 for 2019. At the beginning of 2019, they had 176 in assets. By the end, they asked to grow to 226. What's Swiss Group's return on assets? Any idea? Yes. And I definitely can't hear that. Can you do sign language?
Yeah.
Okay. I can do a little bit, but you know,
Make it a little bit. I just can't read it.
a little bit. I don't know how to make it bigger. But I'll read them off to you. But I will say this, when we're talking about sign language, a funny story on sign language, because a friend of mine, one's international, the other, he's from Costa Rica and all that. They're over at my house. Whatever. It doesn't matter. We had different exchange students and so forth in my house one time and back in Toledo. And then they all left. They were talking about this. They end up showing back up, and all of a sudden they're talking about how the one person couldn't believe when he saw him in Spain, how my one friend was being so rude in front of him and his coworker, female coworker. He goes, "What are you talking about? I just introduced you to my aunt," and all that. He goes, "You didn't say aunt." And of course they're doing sign language because the one spoke a different language, so they were all three doing sign. Well, he kept saying that him and his aunt are going somewhere, and they're going to, and then he's talking about his aunt, and he goes in and talks about his aunt, you know, sign language for aunt, which is the American Sign Language for aunt. International Sign Language, I'll just use the word whole, W-H-O-L-E, but change the L to an R. And he kept talking about his, he's going to take his, you know, I'm not even saying the word. You follow my? He's like, no, you got to apologize to her. You know, it's like his coworker, she's like, you know, so he didn't know there was a difference, you know, R, L, it's the same sign for aunt. So he's trying to say, you know, I'm taking my aunt, we're going to this and with my aunt, and you know, and then he's thinking that he's insulting this woman in front of her face, but that one doesn't know sign language. And so 3 of the 4 were doing sign, and his aunt was pretty much left out of it because, you know, she could do English and Spanish, but they were in Spain, not that kind of, you know, so it's like, that's my little side story on, yeah, you said, you know, I'm like, yeah, okay, flash in my mind, because that was the last time I did sign was with this, and I'm like, I wasn't in trouble. I never said the word aunt. You know, so now it's been a lot of years. But anyways, so you talk return on assets. So what they're wanting you to do is put the words in, then they're wanting you to put dollar in. Actually, to be honest, I want to just, why is it not going to give the choice to go back? Because I don't care. You guys can do it. Oh, return to instructor. That's what I was trying to find. And then return to Blackboard. Hey, look at that. While we've been in class, 3 more people have joined on the homework. That's oddly enough. You can answer some of these while we're doing it. Yeah. So that's the 6 points, and it shows you through. Also, we have the, you can watch the PowerPoints of the publisher, but not required. You can confirm your comprehension. I want to show you how this works. Again, please do not complain when at the end of the semester you get to evaluate me that I gave you too much material when there is the word no points optional, meaning you don't have to do it. But if you want to make sure you know everything, and it says optional there, one person did start, and I'm not sure if it is given a student view here. We'll just do a preview. Launch the preview. There's 57 concepts, so forth. You can read the start questions. Identify the points of accounting by selecting the correct accounting information impacts internal users only. Accounting information is probably used only at the end of the year when tax returns and financial statements are prepared. Accounting is a system that identifies, reports, and communicates financial information. Do people outside the company ever use their information? Never look at financial statements, stock market, banks? Because when you go to lend, the banks just say, you look okay. Because they always, lend money based on looks, right? So you can see there's some external. End of year tax return and financial statements are prepared. Would you ever look over what's going on? Like, let's put it this way. How would you know if you could afford to go out, say, for the next 2 weeks or week and a half, and decide if you're going to go out to, say, a restaurant or see a movie or, say, buy some clothes? Would you look at your bank account and your wallet and see where you're at? Well, that's what accounting does. It lets you know, like we just did, how much is your cash? Did it change? What is the current balance? So it does that. This says it's only at the end of the year when you print the stuff in reports. So obviously you pick third. You follow my point? And you go through some of these and you see if you understand it. That's what this does. Good enough? I'm not going to do any more. I just want to show you what it does. There's other times it's not words and it might be compute this. And then it can help you if you don't get it. It gives you other kinds and that kind of stuff. And you have a spot where you can also click and read about the concept. You see, so if you're not sure, you can click this and actually read. So if you want to do it, you'll definitely know you got it all down. My assumption is you're reading the chapter, kind of, sort of, almost, but you're supposed to be reading the chapter and you understand the homework. Exercise 8, 9, and 14 PowerPoint. These are ones directly that would be like in the homework. And you see it's showing you the color and all that's giving facts, how you don't compute it, and so on. And that's why I skip them, like, why am I taking this? No one's answering. Look, and it shows net income, average total assets. Average total assets, beginning and ending divided by 2. It is amazing on all levels that I've taught in accounting, 214, 215, intermediates. It's amazing how people in the class can take 3 exams and come up with their average grade, or 2 exams and come up with their average grade on their exams. Let's say you got a 90 and a 94. What's your average grade? 92. Yet that same person on a test where it says average will just use one number, beginning or ending, and not come up with an average. Like, think of it as a test score. Okay, you can do it. Think of it as an accounting problem. I don't know. I don't remember. I'm like, it's test, total assets. You follow my point? So I hope you'll get it because you're the one who told me how to do it. Fair enough? In a class of 30, I'm betting at least 7 or 8 will have no clue at all, potentially 12. We'll miss that because they don't actually do an average. I've done this enough. I mean, 20 some years. I know this will happen. You're like, yeah. And it's all because of the word average, which they totally disregarded. And they'll do it this way. They'll pick only the beginning, not divide by 2. They'll pick only the ending, not add the beginning and divide by 2. They'll actually put both of them and add them and not divide by 2. Every possible way you can mess it up. And I've also had them, but it's rare, that they take beginning and divide it by 2 and never add the ending, or take the ending divided by 2 and never add the beginning. Normally, just forget to divide by 2. They either take the beginning or ending, and the least common is add them together. But they don't divide. Fair enough? We're good? It's not that difficult. But, okay, consider almost a third of the people in the class will miss that. And you wonder why grades gap? I mean, it's like, okay, we good? Okay. And I'm going to stop share for a second because normally whenever I do that, I have to stop share and reshare. Are we all good online? Okay. So I'll go, oh, actually, let me check the time for it as well, 12:44. Good, okay, we have plenty of time. So we've now gone through the chapter 1, which is what we had to finish today. I'm going to start the concepts of chapter 2. Okay? Which is analyzing and recording transactions. But if you realize in the homework, question number what, 5 or 6, was actually analyzing the transactions, right? We saw how it changed. We talked about receivable, payable, capital account. So that's what we're going to go back into more of. So in chapter 2, I pull out specifically exercise 2.6. So I'll go through that one specifically. Then we'll jump into some of the homework things and so forth and how we do it. And just to be safe in a second, I'm also, again, going to stop share and then reshare. For whatever reason, it'll disconnect and not keep sharing screen. So every time I switch, I try and do that. So this is on page 70. It is usually information in each of the following separate cases. Now, with this, I want to point this out to you because especially it happens in chapter 1, but it becomes blatantly obvious in chapter 2 from now on. What I try when I show these kind of things in class, this exercise 2.6 would be in your book. At the end of the chapter, you'd find exercise 2.6. These numbers will be what's typed in the book for that exercise. If I choose that exercise, which I did, as a homework problem, the numbers will be different for you. Remember I showed that last week, how that happens? So what you're seeing here, 132.5, 152,000, it could be whatever number, but it will mathematically, you'll be able to compute it the exact same way. That's why I try and do these. I've done it before, like I just did, where I show you the stuff in class and we go through it. The problem is if you write those numbers down, then you go, I'm like, I don't know where you got all that because it wasn't in the book and it's not on what you're seeing. So it's the catch-22, but the problem is I'm like, okay, I was doing this and because we had internet issues and major hiccups, I couldn't even break away to go over and get another document reader where I can then say, here's the book, look at the document and so forth. You know what I mean? So it's like, eventually I'll do that and I can sit there and have it where I plug this into USB. You can see things from documents that go up, which effectively be your book. Okay? Which I see every single person in here having their book in front of them. Oh, not one person. But it could be an ebook on your lap. You follow my point? Okay. So you see where I'm going with this. So use the information in each of the 5 separate cases. Payment on account in October. Payment means just that you paid it. We're trying to get used to the terms. On account, this is the first term, and I'm going to go to you. This is the first term on what I asked you. What did I originally ask you? What is a? On an account, that means an account payable. You sold something on an account, which means they owe you. Here, you paid something on account, which means you had a payable to someone else. Their receivable, our payable. Now I paid some money on it. For instance, you borrowed money from, say, your brother, 20 bucks, and you said you'd give him the 20 at the end of the week, at the end of the week, and you gave him 10. You said, I'll get the other 10 to you in a few days. So you made a payment on your account. Your account now is down to 10 bucks with your brother. Or as my brother liked to do, he'd always ask about borrowing money from me while I'm sleeping. And he goes, it's amazing. You could answer lucidly questions about anything while I'm sleeping. He'd ask me and I'd say, like, because I used to work tons of different hours. So I'm like, oh, all right. One time he was asking if we borrowed 20. Yeah. How about 30? Yeah. for it. And he got to whatever, 50, 60 or 70, whatever it was he got to. All of a sudden, no, and I jumped, sat up in my sleep. He goes, man, I was doing good. He goes, what made you wake up with that? I said, I just knew that that's every dollar I had in my wallet. I was letting him borrow up until, like, no, you're taking the last buck. No, and then boom, out of a dead sleep. But that's a payable. I like to use humor stories. Humorous normally works the best to get people to remember. Understand what an account is, a payable. Another way of saying that would end up being is you have a chart of accounts which says every account, like cash, receivable, accounts payable, capital accounts, liability accounts. It has all the accounts on it. That's your chart of accounts. Now, so when you're saying an account, that's the name of anything. But what they're implying here is an account payable. They try and get you used to some of the accounting lingo, and that's what this is. That's why I took time on the question. Payment on accounts. That's implying your account you're paying. In October, sales on an account, that means if you're selling on an account, now I'm selling, and there's an account that I have for my customers, their account name, they just would put it on their account. How many in here are 21 or over? Look at that, women answered. Okay, no, I'm just, no. Okay. If you were to go to a bar and they said, you want me to start a tab, that's the same as saying an account. It's with your name, give a driver, what, that's, that's the most common place that does it anymore. If you follow my point, that's just like boom, boom, it started, is a bar. That's why I picked it. So a few of you can relate, everyone else can understand what I'm saying by it. That was so that you could open a tap to have multiple cups of coffee and Perrier water, right? Okay, see, I was right. See, I knew these people. Okay. And then it has cash balance on September 30th. That's having you do these. Each is a separate case. That's how I started doing the homework. Each is a separate case, but it didn't say it's a separate, it said it's building on the homework, which is a rare thing. So in this case, it says quarantine company had 152,000 on accounts payable on September 30th and 132,500 on October 31st. So at the end of September, 152. Now it dropped to 132.5 on Halloween night, right? The total purchases on account during October were 281,000. How much cash was paid on account payable during October? And I need to see what they're seeing, and I'm trying to figure out how I minimize this. Okay, stop share, screen share. That didn't help. Put it down here. F11, maybe that'll. I can't switch the page view. I wanted to see what they can see to make sure that they can see when I write on the board. So stop share. Okay, yeah, they can see here. I want to make sure they can see when I write, so I'm not gypping half the people in the class. I never paid attention. This is a chalkboard. I haven't done a chalkboard in years, but I have a mechanical chalk thing. I just got to find it at home. It's mine from me teaching at all these different places. And I have not used that in years, so I'm like, okay, what's nice, it's got mechanical with it, so I'm not getting all over my hand. But anyways, I'm going to switch back now that I know that you can see me. Remember, you should all be able to speak up and say things. If you have questions, so I'm going to go back to share screen. So what this one says is 152,000 was accounts payable. So an account payable, you have 152,000. I'm writing in a T account, which I can't stand to use except for inventory, but I'm trying to do a little bit of it for you guys because that's what they show, but I'm like, I just can't stand them. I love it for inventory accounts, but everything else, I'm like, they're just annoying. Shh, I didn't say that. I'm the teacher. I'm not supposed to be annoyed by what I'm supposed to do, right? There's other ways of doing it. And it's 132.5. At the end of the month, right? You could say beginning ending or September 30th, which what's the difference between September 30th and October 1st? The difference, you can say October 1st, so beginning of the month. The difference between September 30th at midnight and October 1st and 1 second in the morning is the day switched. The numbers are the same, right? So what you're saying is 152 at the beginning, 132.5 at the ending. And then it said total purchases on account was 281. How much did you pay on the account? That's what it's really saying. Do you catch that? Beginning that you owe someone. Here's what you put on your credit card. You then paid so much, and now it's down to this. So you could say 152 and 281, 3, 4, 33. Minus the ending, 132, 500. So you have 300,500, if I did the math right. Huh? I'm right, okay. Well, once I thought I was wrong, but I was mistaken. No, I'm kidding. I always like those kind of, just messing with people. Man, look at this. I took out one thing of chalk and now I got like 4 things up here I'm seeing. I never even noticed them until now. And that's just what they show you. But I want to slowly walk you through it, how I come up with it. It's this first, then the ending. Then they said you did purchase on account, which means your accounts payable went up. So you know there has to be a decrease to make that work. Because this plus this is way over that. You have to reduce it. You're making payment on it. That makes sense to everyone? Because if you look what this shows, it's already done. You didn't realize you had to compute this. You have this, then you have this. Then it tells you you purchased these, but what did you pay to reduce the payable? Now you see why on the board. It's not needed on there, but just seeing the order helps. I hope you agree. Any questions on that, how that's done? The silence is deafening. Quit screaming. Okay. I'll assume you get it. So now it says on September 30th, the totally different one, they had payment on account of 300,500. The sales on account were 89,390, and cash balance. What was the ending cash balance? So the account receivable. Let's see there what they're doing here. They have 102.5 account receivable in October. They collected 102,890 from its credit customers. So they started off with 102,500 as account receivable. People paid 102,890 on their credit card accounts with us. This means it isn't necessarily one person. You could have like 500 customers. You started with this much owed among, say, 500 customers. Of the 500 customers, that's how much they paid on their account. And then this is how much more was on a credit account. This could be one person, or you could be adding all of your account receivable together. Fair enough? Because on your balance sheet, it's all your account receivable added together. You're not going to list. I have, like Google, you can imagine the chart of accounts, they have like 670 million customers. Okay, so they're going to have a sheet with every one of their account names? No, they're going to have just one account receivable number. Fair enough? So you add those, subtract, gives you ending. What they don't show is you add these two together, get a number, subtract the other side. And if you remember on day one, Account receivable is an asset. You increase assets by debiting. You credit to decrease the asset. Payments on the receivable decreases the receivable. But it increases the other asset, so you debit the other side. So if you think about what we didn't do yet is the true journal entry. And I'll give an idea for the journal entry right now. What happens is, on this, collections on an account receivable, what the journal entry, which you haven't seen yet, what it would say would be something like this. Or the word cash, 102,890. We'll act like it's all one payment. There, I was trying to transpose again. You debit a cash for 102,890 and credit account receivable for 102,890 because they paid on their account, so their account has to decrease. So you debit and credit, they're both assets. They're both asset accounts, right? So you're debiting and crediting. So what did the asset account change? Nothing. It just shifted from receivable to cash. That's what we're going to get to when we're talking about journal entries actually recording them. But we haven't got there yet. But I want you to see where this takes place. Make sense? On this one, what they're talking about is the actual cash account. So if you can see doing this journal entry, cash and receivable, you're going to have another entry here where it has to do with cash. So what happens, every one of these entries we call a cash ledger. You'd have one side of go to the cash ledger. Your general ledger has both sides written at one time. Then they section them and put them in the appropriate one. That way you can tally just that one, or we call that one T account, but it's really a ledger, which doesn't really have to have a positive or negative, you just know it's increase, decrease. So anyways, they had 125 cash receipts. What was the beginning cash though? Oh, balance on September 30th. Do you remember how much cash company had at the close of business on September 30th? During October? What? I'm just going to do this again. They had 102.5 in cash receipts. That makes sense here. 103.5, in cash disbursement. So it reduces the cash. You spent cash. A cash disbursement means you're spending it. You're getting rid of it. Cash receipts, most people make sense, but a lot of people would never have heard the word disbursement. To disperse, you normally think of that when it comes to a crowd. You want to disperse the crowd. It's the same thing now. When you say disperse an account, that just means you're getting rid of it. Thinning it out, that kind of thing. So then it said cash at September 30th, but it's asking for determine how much cash is it. Normally it's the beginning of it. I mean, that's still, I don't like how they're wording this question at all. But anyways, because you'd think if they're asking September, they'd be saying the cash at the beginning of September. If they're asking end of September, unless they're talking, actually meant to put October here. You follow my point? What do they have at the end of September? And then they said cash at the end of September. You follow my point? I think they're wanting October here. I'm just saying. I'm like, I kept reading them. That can't be right. I'm betting this is supposed to be the word October and that's end of October. Because otherwise this makes absolutely no sense. Because then this number does not equal that number, which it should. So they have the wrong word in there. I just caught it now. This is publisher provided. So yeah, that's supposed to be the word October. Because all these things took place in October. Just so you know, the last word is supposed to be October here. And it shouldn't be 30th, it should be 31st. Otherwise, this whole question, now you see why I stopped like 3 times, like this makes no sense. So, again, beginning, add the cash coming in, which is receipts, subtract the cash going out, disbursements, gives you ending. I always like to add those together, gives a total in, less what went out, and then gives ending. Okay, so I stopped screen share there. Go back into screen share. Now what I want to also show you in the, because I said you don't have to, I actually was saving chapter 2 PowerPoints to do a little bit of the PowerPoint presentation. So you can see there is benefits to it. Am I making you do it? No, but there are benefits to going through the PowerPoint. And that's what I want to do now. You notice I didn't care as much on chapter 1. And stop share, share, and just make sure it's working. Basics of financial statements. The main financial statements you've already learned, if you think about it, last week. We were talking about the financial statement of the balance sheet, which is the accounting equation. That's pretty much everything we did in chapter 1 homework, which was assets equals liabilities plus stockholders' equity. I explained the logic as to why it's A equals L plus, yeah, OESE, capital, whatever you want to call it, right? And that's just so you're not subtracting. It's not taught that way, but that's the honest truth of it. You know, it's easier to add than subtract. Debits equal credits. We can make it work either way. You could have had it A minus L gives you net worth, you know, assets minus liability gives you net worth, but that's how it's developed. Then that then gives you the first financial statement, which is what are your assets, what are your liabilities, and what's your net worth or owner's equity. All right? That's what it's doing, and that's called a balance sheet. Those accounts can turn to zero, which then you don't have to list them. What if you have no payables at the end of the month? You got everyone paid at the end of the month. If you did a financial statement of a balance sheet and you have no liabilities for payables, you don't have to show accounts payable, or you could have accounts payable zero, right? So that's your balance sheet. But it keeps going day after day, month after month, year after year, and it doesn't reset. There's no resetting, absent maybe filing bankruptcy, and then that's advanced accounting. How you would reset if you have a negative net worth. So we're not going there. You don't even have to know or hear that. You follow my point? But there are some weird things that get, and you can see where someone could file bankruptcy and do a reorganization and restart through the bankruptcy court and get rid of creditors, a fresh start, all that kind of garbage. But we're not dealing with that at this level, let alone, you don't deal with that at intermediate 1 even. You follow my point? So that's your balance sheet. The next financial statement would be in the wait, let me go back. And the balance sheet is the main one that started all of accounting. Asset, liability, equity, or net worth. What are we worth? People would think about profit or loss, what you're making, which we call the income statement, on a transactional basis. And so think of it this way, and I'll ask Ms. Friend here. Let's say you bought your backpack and it's brand new. You just got it today, and let's say you spent 35 bucks on it. If you sold it to someone for $40, is that a good deal? Ignoring your time to buy it now. You bought it for 35, sold it for 40. Good deal? Did you make money on it? And how much money did you make on it? You bought it for 35, you sold it for 40. Yeah, you made $5. So people can do that. Did I make money? And here's the other, sir, right next to you. Let's switch it this way. You bought your book bag for $35, brand new, you just got it. Would you want to sell it to someone else for 30 bucks the same day? If you did, what did you make on it? Nothing. You lost $5. See how easy that was? So people didn't worry about the income statement right away. Over time it developed, but every transaction you can say how much you made. The difference is they eventually developed it into saying, let's do this as a yearly basis or quarterly. But you know why you do it as a yearly basis? The number one reason you do that as a yearly basis? April 15th is coming up, you can probably guess. The government wants their cut. You follow my point? So they are like, oh, what'd you make in payment and whatnot, and you can do quarterly things and do estimated. But the bottom line is they need an income statement because they shouldn't be charging you based upon what your assets are. It should be based on the money you make. Otherwise, it's saying every time they come up to you, like, oh, this is how much you give, I'm taking this much. It's only fair. No, I'm taking it's only fair. What are you talking about? I already paid tax on it twice now. You know, you follow my point? It's like it should be only the change. Here's the net change to the positive. You take part of the positive. If I'm losing money, you shouldn't be taking money from me because I didn't make anything. I worked my rear end off and I lost money, which means quit your job and start working at McDonald's where you get hourly wage instead of, you know, your business that's losing money. Make sense? So that's the income statement, and you can see the reason for it. But what does that imply? Every year, December 31st, you can compute revenue minus expenses gives you net income. Now, that's not exactly translatable to the tax return, but close enough. Because IRS gives you slightly different rules than GAAP does, general accepted accounting principles. So that's what the income statement is. Those are the main two statements. There's a few other, but that's the main two. Probably the third statement that's a true full on its own statement is cash flow. Because people should keep track of cash. Net income means revenue, but what if they didn't pay you yet? You did the job and they owe you. Well, that's a sale and you can compute your profit. You're just waiting to get paid. Right? But if you have too many of those and you're paying your workers to do this and you're buying the supplies, eventually you run out of cash. And if you don't have cash, guess what happens? Everything stops. So that's why they did a statement of cash flow. And most of the other stuff would end up being like owner's equity or the capital account. And that profit you make in your income statement, there's a profit for the year, hopefully, or a loss, but hopefully a profit. That profit you made for the year, the question is, do you keep it or do you give it to the owners? If you give it to the owners, that's called a dividend or a withdrawal. If you keep it, it goes into the capital account, which means it goes from the income statement to the balance sheet. And they'll call that statement of owner's equity, you know, that kind of thing. So there's another, but it's really just to make the one move to the other. But does it really move or do you take some of it out before the move? Fair enough? Those are the financial statements. So it says identify each transaction event for a source document. That could end up being a sales receipt because you sold coffee and it came up with the cash register. That would be a source document. Analyze each transaction event using the accounting equation, asset liability equity. We've been doing that. This journal entry here, account receivable and cash. Someone paid on their account receivable to us. So account receivable down, cash went up. Both an asset. Liabilities didn't change. Capital account didn't change. And guess what? The asset account didn't change either. It went up and down to the same amount, net effect zero. 0 equals 0 plus 0. Yep, it's 0 equals 0. You're right. That's good. You see, it doesn't have to change the number. It just has to equal. Accounting equation has to equal. You do an entry and it actually affects them. It can affect them in a net of 0 all the way across the board like that one did. Fair enough? That's what throws people in mind. Like, no, it just has to be equal when you're done. Didn't mean it had to change. The sub-accounts in the asset changed. The cash changed, it went up, and the receivable changed, it went down. Net effect, no change in assets. Change in sub-accounts within the assets. We good? Record the relevant transaction events in a journal. That's just doing this like a journal entry. This would be general journal because it has both sides. Then there'd be a cash journal or ledger, and there'd be account receivable journal or ledger. And the odds are there'd be like tons of sub-ledgers within the receivable because it'd be every customer's name. This would affect probably one customer or maybe, I don't know. But normally everyone's a separate entry. So it says post the journal information ledger, prepare and analyze a trial balance and financial statements. A trial balance just says list all of your accounts like cash, accounts receivable, office supplies, equipment, inventory, building, accounts payable. You follow my point? Add all those, all the debits, put all the, subtotals for the cash account, subtotal account, receivable account. Those would be in the debit column. Put the liabilities of credit and all that, and then add them all up. Do debits still equal credits? If they don't, you did something wrong. They have to. If it equals, then everything should be right. It's not guaranteed, but it should be right. Because remember, why are you doing it twice? Asset, debit equal credit. We already said way back, the logic to it is count everything twice, it should be right. If I give you three numbers, and they're all 3-digit numbers, like 123, 572, and 697. Add those three together. Well, if you did that and did it a second time, you should be right. Doesn't mean you are, but you should be. That's the trial balance. It should be right. Once that's right, we do all the asset accounts first, then all the liability accounts, and all the capital accounts, and then all the revenue accounts, which is income statement at that point, and expense account, which is income statement. The first three are balance sheet accounts. All the debits and all the credits. You draw a line across the capital account right before you get to the income statement accounts. And when you hit the income statement accounts, it's real easy to determine. You know how you know it is? She already said if you have the account that says sales revenue, guess what? That's income statement. And if it's not sales, if it's not service revenue or sales revenue, it's going to say revenue. Right above that, it's going to have something like capital, owner's equity, common stock. It'll be something like that there. That's the end of the balance sheet. So now you have a line drawn, you can actually make up the financial statements. So they're not talking about different source documents, bills for supplies, sales receipt, that's a copy receipt, checks, purchase orders. A purchase order is a document. If you're going to purchase something, normally you start with a purchase requisition. That's at big companies. Like if you went to go buy something, you'd probably just go to the store and buy it, right? But if your company wants it bought, do you just go and say, hey, I bought it? No, they're probably like, well, let's get this documented so we know it's ours. Just like I'm a pretty cool landlord in many ways. I have this idea. The rent is, gosh, I wish I even remember. I should know this. I'm the landlord, but I always have to reload. I know what the dollar amount's supposed to come in at. But it's $500 or $550 for a one-bedroom unit, plus utilities. I have a standard rule that if you buy anything that stays, that could be paint, that could be another water faucet, that could be an area rug. I already paid, I think it was $85 for English celery, only because it comes up every year. So in the back, there's a place that English celery keeps coming up because I paid for it. If it eventually dies, so be it. I don't pay for tomatoes because they only come up once a year. And then you have to do new plants. So I don't pay for those. So what it comes down to is, my rule is you can take up to $100 off of your rent as long as you give the receipts. So I'm asking for receipts to know that it's proper and I get to keep it when they move out. So these are all kind of source documents. Fair enough? And with that, the last thing is, that's all, folks. So let's do a spray that kind of tell you what, I'll even be nice and do today's. And, okay, I got it. You can go. I just had to memorize the layout of who are not sitting in certain seats. So I'm only spraying those that are. So unless there's any questions, that was it. We all good? Okay, have a good night. Oh, thanks, Steve.